Morning, copiers. Today is the 14th of December. It's a Monday, which means I missed my Friday update, the weekly update. And that's because I was traveling for part of that Friday. I'm now in sunny South Africa. I don't have my usual setup, so apologies for the little oddities you might see in the video. It's also bloody hot, so I'll be a little sweatier than usual for this video. Alright, so getting into it, we are now firmly in the, well, I guess right in the cusp of the second and third week of December. It's been a frothy month, and I did say this at the end of November as well as going into early December, but still we've managed to eke out a little return for the month, just over 2%. For the year to date, we are now sitting on 45%, so I have well and truly beat my target of beating the S&P 500 by 20% for this year, which is great, unless something catastrophic happens in the next 2 weeks, that is. And if you had copied me since June of 2015 with $10,000, you would now have $63,900 over 5 years, so a return of 539%. All right, so things are looking more or less flattish. This is the S&P 500 one-day chart. So since the month started, we don't have today's open on here, but as you can see, we traveled a little bit up and then a little bit down on the S&P 500. And then it's a similar story for the NASDAQ 100. So this nice fat red candle last week, which I know terrified a lot of people, but which more or less just brought the market to where it was when last month ended. So not a huge change, pretty flat overall. So even though our profit for this month is small, we're still doing pretty good when you look at the broader market. So I did add funds 2 weeks ago, and I said I would hold onto those funds through at least last Friday. But actually I have continued to hold that cash because there really aren't that many opportunities in the market right now. Okay, so maybe not 20%, but you know, I haven't spent a lot of the money that I've added. So I'll continue to keep that cash buffer because I think that the market will continue to be flattish for the rest of this month. In terms of trading that I've done, so I dropped a Tesla position. Tesla is going to enter a list on the S&P 500, I think on the 21st of December. Tesla obviously having done incredibly well through this year. I am wondering though if this is going to be one of those buy the rumor, sell the event kind of situations. I do have one more position left in Tesla. I believe in Tesla for the long term. I think they're a fantastic business, but I also think that they have been overhyped and the stock price needs to come down a little bit. So I suspect that might happen in the next week or two, so I might drop this additional position. We'll see how things go. I did pick up a few small positions towards the middle of last week, I think it was. And these are sitting a touch in profit at the moment. This was effectively buying off of the back of the tech sell-off that happened, that 2% or 2.2% drop that happened across the NASDAQ 100. And also, I think UK stocks are well placed. It's a little bit risky at the moment, and I'll come to that in the next part of my update. But yeah, so I'm probably not going to sit on these positions for too long. They're just going to be opportunistic because I'm hoping for a broader market consolidation before I go shopping in a big way once again. And then the big news of last week was obviously Airbnb and DoorDash IPOing and experiencing these incredible green candles as they opened for IPO. I guess you can't see the green candle on this chart, but both opening and having fantastic first days. I am left scratching my head a little bit because Airbnb will have massively been affected by a great lockdown. I need to interrogate their books a little bit more to figure out what my future position might be. But I suspect that I don't know if they're going to be able to hold this price level for, let's say, 12 months. All right. And let's look at the coming week. So the headlines are more or less what they have been for the past few weeks. Maybe this exception about the big IPOs. But we see lots of headlines around vaccines. All right, so we have the vaccines. How are we going to get them to the market? What effect are they going to have on the people that take them? Will there be any allergic reactions in any meaningful way? On top of this, we have Brexit. We failed to reach a Brexit trade deal between the UK and EU. Not much of a surprise there. And they've extended the deadline, well, the conceptual deadline for the trade deal to be finished. They have a few sticking points, which I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing about. But effectively, they got until the end of this month to sign a deal. This is why I'm saying that UK stocks are a lot more risky, particularly in the short term. Although I would say there are still some really solid businesses. So, for example, EasyJet, even if a Brexit deal doesn't happen, a vaccine being rolled out throughout Europe means that EasyJet has got a lot of recovery going to happen through the next year or two. So their stock price is still half or less than half of what it was pre-Great Lockdown. So I think they've got decent potential. It might be a rocky road to the recovery, but I think that it'll happen in a reasonable time frame. And then ASOS is expanding internationally. They're not just a UK company anymore, and they've proven themselves. They had a bit of an issue initially expanding internationally, but they've fixed those problems, and the management team is highly competent. So I think there's probably a good amount of growth left in that stock too. Chinese stocks are another that I am watching eagerly. There have been several problems that have plagued Chinese stocks. I think most notably the US's position with regards to Chinese businesses and the Chinese government. But if you look at things like the valuation metrics on fundamentals for companies like Momo, Baidu, Alibaba, these companies are still reasonably priced. And they are growing massively. Momo, I guess we're still waiting for Momo to turn a corner, but huge potential. So it'll be nice to see what the next president and his administration will do with regards to the Chinese relationship through next year and beyond. Overall, I am feeling a decline in activity on eToro and other places. So I think people are just they're taking holiday, they're spending times with their family, they're cashing in money that they had in stocks, taking profits, buying presents for others and themselves. And I think that this trend will continue through to the end of the first week in January. It happens every year. And I did call it out in November. So the market's become quieter. They might become more volatile because there are fewer people participating in the market. Or they might just slowly drift a little bit downwards. It's no big deal. That's just seasonality. That's the way things go. So what about beyond that? Because we do need to be looking, at least 2 to 12 weeks out. And so what will start happening towards the end of December and the beginning of Jan is, these are the earnings dates, by the way, for these companies, earning report dates, is that people will start anticipating earnings for companies in, well, not just my list, but this is my list that I watch. And retailers have almost definitely done very, very well through the past quarter. So I expect people to start buying some of the retailers, maybe potentially booking holidays with EasyJet through the current quarter, anticipating a vaccine arriving through the Northern Hemisphere. So it's likely that retail stocks could pop. I also was feeling a little neutral, maybe not bearish, but neutral on Apple a month ago. But I have become a lot more bullish. So the products that they have recently launched are incredible. The new laptop lineup, the iPhone 12, people are loving the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini. People are buying phones, replacing the current phones earlier because they like them so much. And then obviously the new headsets that Apple has launched. They are very expensive, but I know a lot of people that have put in pre-orders, and I'm guessing that's going to be the situation around much of the world. So I think this quarter for Apple is going to be incredible. So in the lead up, the run up to February 2nd, I expect a lot of buying activity. All right, cool. So thank you very much for your attention. Apologies for being a few days late on the update, but have a great trading week, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.